Okay, so as a kid, I was always fascinated by stories, and I just read lots of encyclopedias. I remember when my mother gave me encyclopedia as a present, and I read this whole thick book, and I was really into it, and I was surprised how many humanity has achieved, and I thought, what's going to happen next, like in hundreds or 200 years? But I was impatient. I wanted to know what's going to happen now, so I got into science fiction. So about stories of the faraway worlds where major developments in art, science, and other fields. But in these worlds, there are major technological improvements, but the sad part that there were societal changes. These books depict that people don't care about culture and heritage no more, and the only things remain is strict government control. So I'm talking about books such as Brave New World and 1984. If you haven't read them, I encourage you to do so, because they are interesting examples of dystopian literature. So, and the situation got me here that I really wanted. I thought, if the future is so bleak and ignorant of heritage, maybe I can do something to show the architectural uniqueness and the specialness. So at first I started step by step, just sharing pictures online. And one day, like, an interesting idea hit me. Maybe I can show architecture and architectural uniqueness with a simple toy, Lego brick. So when this idea came to me, I couldn't stop thinking what I could do. The possibilities are endless. You know, the brick is small, but you have like tons of different bricks and you can build anything. So, but I started step by step, brick by brick. And I think I'm getting ahead of myself, because I would like to start by talking how I started to learn about architecture and how I started to build and building Lego bricks. So my first visit, like contact with architecture, the first important event was when I came to my mother's hometown, Liepāja, and she was very fond of the city because she grew there for 10 years and then returned to Lithuania. And in 2008, I went to this seaside city in Latvia, and I was fascinated by the architectural forms there, because they were like very interesting buildings with floral motifs and intricate details I haven't seen in Vilnius. So I was captivated by it, and I just wanted to learn more. So I discovered that this style was called Art Nouveau in France and Belgium, and in Lithuania, modern, and in other countries like Germany and Latvia, it was called Jugendstil. So when I came back home, I just wanted to learn about this architectural style I have never heard before. And I was lucky, because my grandfather was an engineer, and he had tons of like big library about architecture. So I was lucky I could just come back home and read more about this architectural style. At some point, I started to research about architecture on the internet, but every time I do a next step, it seemed not enough for me. I wanted to do even more. So, funny enough, I started with this architectural style, but I just got bored of it, because there is like too much of everything on the facade. So I found out that there is this architectural style called modernism, which started at the 20th century, and it happens to be, it is really important to Kaunas. So this is how I discovered Kaunas interwar modernism. So what's so special about it, you might ask? So let's get back to the context that So after the First World War, lots of imperial powers collapsed and we established a new country, Lithuania, 100 years ago. And, but it was not that peaceful, unfortunately. We lost our capital city, Vilnius, to Polish forces, and this became another opportunity for Kaunas, which was chosen as a temporary capital of Lithuania between First World War and Second World War. And in span of 20 years, you can imagine a city expanded 20 times, 7 times area, but the population, I think, 3 times. And during this turbulent times, people from all over Lithuania came to study, do business, or just enjoy cultural life in Kaunas. And of course, since the city grew so big, it had to accommodate lots of people. So of course, there was big building boom. And the first wave was characterized by more intricate buildings, inspired by Baroque or folk art or classicism. And the second wave of construction was more functional buildings with very clear facades. So naturally, when I learned about this, that this Lithuanian architecture is very important, there are some folk motifs in this architecture that relates to, traditional architecture, traditional patterns you can see on your grandmother's table. You know these old tablecloths that have small squares? So this is what these patterns inspired architects to create interwar architecture. And I will show how this inspired some of the buildings. So when I learned it, I started to share my architectural discoveries on Instagram. And I was fascinated not only by the actual buildings, but what's inside of them, how the staircases look, what kind of interior design these buildings have. And I remember a funny story that some of these buildings were closed and I could not get in, so I waited near the house so I could get in and see what's inside. So it was really crazy, but fun experience. So, and after this, I learned more about this modernism. I got excited, and I got a present, a Lego set, which contained only white Lego bricks, and with no particular instructions, just a box of white bricks. And I decided I want to recreate something from Kaunas. So I chose Kaunas Central Office building, which is iconic modernist architecture in Lithuania. So every time I go by this building in Kaunas, Laisvės, I can stop admiring the details, the forms, and everything. So this was my first step. So after this, I started to collaborate with European Culture of Capital Kaunas 2022, and I did some small workshops for kids with studio, with Lego model design program Studio 2.0. So what I started to do, at first I started to build the buildings from real bricks, and after that I started to design the buildings with the program, which you can download, it's free. So I started to design, and I led some workshops and introduced kids to this interwar heritage and why it's important to preserve it, why it's like part of Lithuanian identity maybe, or part of Kaunas identity also. And the next big thing came when Kaunas 2022 suggested me to create even bigger exhibit for exhibition in Kaunas Central Office, same building you see here. So they suggested me I could create some kind of big curtain and there were lots of discussions what to do. So, as you can see on the slides, that there is like huge Lego curtain I've created, which was inspired by Kaunas central office floors. As I mentioned, these floors were inspired by this folk art tablecloth, which you can see at your grandmother's house. And it might look funny that I created this pattern from grandma's tablecloth, but at the time, this pattern was taken very seriously as an inspiration for architects to create. So, but let's get back to the Lego curtain. So, it was very huge, like 3.4 and 2.5 meters. So it was like 4 of me or 5 of me in a row. We constructed this for 6 days. So like 8 hours a day. There were like 15 volunteers who were kind enough to help me and do this construction. And the curtain weighed over 120 kilograms. So I was not able to pick it. So I would need like 10 people to do so. And when it was finished, it had over 60,000 Lego bricks. So it was my biggest thing I've done. However, I kept doing this because I couldn't stop. Just, you know, Lego is really addicting thing. You just construct, you finish, and you want to do something more. So again, I collaborated with Kaunas 2022, and they suggested me to bring non-existing sculpture back to life. For this we chose Juozas Ruzgas sculpture Palangos Jūze. You probably know what is Palangos Jūze. It's a like fictional character created by writer Motiejus Valančius. And this sculpture became the direct inspiration for Lego Palangos Jūze. This was probably my most intricate work I've done, because I had to, the funny thing, we disassembled the Lego curtain, and with the same bricks I built this Palangos Jūze. So, but it was a big challenge, because I have only 2 types of bricks, 2x2 and 2x4. So that's why the result is quite blocky, but I'm very happy how it turned out, because it looks like a human being, and it's around like almost to my head. So, and if you go to Kaunas, you can see the sculpture live. It's in the Laisvės Avenue 57 on I think Mickevičius Library. So if you go to Kaunas, you can check it out and see in real. So, but let's talk about elephant in the room, I would like to say. The main model that recently, my creation that really recently blew up in social media. So I've recreated this iconic Kaunas interwar modernism house from Lego bricks and uploaded to Lego Ideas platform, where people and kids can vote for their favorite Lego sets to become a real thing. So this was culmination of my work. I've started to do this model in 2020, and I worked on it for 2 years. And luckily enough, after 2 months, this model reached 10,000 likes, and Lego is now investigating it, or just looking for design and planning or not, I don't know, to make this model a real Lego set. So the results will be in September. So unfortunately, I have to wait again. But no, I still have to finish one more thing. You're really impatient. So this was truly mind-blowing for me, that this model, this Kaunas interwar architecture reach very wide audience in Lithuania, but also in abroad. And I was really happy that my work reached such wide audience. So I started my talk with a very gloomy and dark thoughts that heritage is doomed and everything. But I think there's hope. If you invest time and energy in the things you care about, you can do lots of things. So if you have any idea and thing you would like to do, just don't hesitate to try different things. Do something unconventional, because you know the only limit is your imagination. So don't stop dreaming and share ideas you care about. Thank you.